palace is giving the impression that their goal is to get on with the slimming down of the monarchy, get the coronation done, whereas the Sussexes look much more focused on the personal aspect of things.
Why do you think King Charles invited them, or specifically purposefully invited them and extended that olive branch?
This has been a sort of recurring theme in his life, actually. I didn't know this until I worked last year on the biography of his grandmother, the Queen Mother, and I found out that in the late 1960s and early 1970s, when Charles was still pretty young, he was one of the only members of the royal family who was prepared to go over to Paris to visit his great uncle, the ex-King Edward VIII and Wallace Simpson. And he's, said to the Queen Mother and to the Queen, I think that we should be trying to build bridges between this side of the family. I think his uncle and his aunt should be brought back into the fold a bit. So there is a past track record of Charles doing things like this, and so that in that sense it tracks as consistent with what we know of him as a person. But I also think you catch more with honey than vinegar, to quote the old proverb. I think if one side, rightly or wrongly, is perceived as being the side that complains and has had a real run of publicity, of interviews that are stating the same thing in slightly different words each time, then a very sensible PR move is for you to say nothing. And when you do say something, to say something positive. So I think it's probably a mixture of personality and pragmatism that has prompted him to do that. But I think you're right. I think the palace looks slightly more, I should point out, there are some people who absolutely loathe the royal household and the palace, and whatever they do, they will tend to see it as wrong or Machiavellian, or there's a hidden motive no one knows about. I think other people will see it that the palace looks slightly more detached from this drama than the Sussexes do. The palace is giving the impression that their goal is to get on with the slimming down of the monarchy, get the coronation done, whereas the Sussexes look much more focused on the personal aspect of things, which, considering that the Sussexes are a family themselves, I suppose that's not completely shocking.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below, and visit usmagazine.com.